They've got James McLean as well.
On
I
the
mean,
left.
I can't mention him. He's the only player I know. Everywhere he goes, he rolls everybody up, doesn't he? I think he loves it, really, to be honest. But he's the only player I know who could start a fight in a room on his own. He's that type of player, isn't he? I actually don't mind his attitude. I don't like some of the venomous comments against him. I know he's not the most.
He's not a likeable character, is he?
I like his attitude, in terms of he's got a bit of physicality about his strength. But yeah, as a person, obviously he doesn't help himself, does he? Because he just winds everybody up,
He's an A-star nut job, isn't he? He really is. It's like, I remember a pre-season friendly against Chelsea, 10 minutes in, they were fighting in the corner. You think, what is wrong with the guy?
As well, yeah.
So welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue, and a huge game awaits for Birmingham City this Thursday away at Wrexham. Now, of course, both clubs have that connection between Hollywood and NFL, and of course that brings that element of spectacle. But for myself and Dad, all we care about is the football. We just want those 3 points and to make another statement win and hopefully create that even bigger gap at the top of the table. So Dad, we travel to Wrexham on Thursday. What are your thoughts?
Well, firstly, and I've said this on previous podcasts, I'm looking forward to playing Wrexham, looking forward to the football. I just don't like all the hype around the game, and people will argue, well, that's what's going to bring and generate interest to the match and stuff like that. Well, that's fine, and for the people who like that, that's absolutely fine. But I'll be glad to get this fixture out the way, because just so that both Wrexham and ourselves can just get on with our football and just not have this sort of hyped up atmosphere that's created for this game. But as you say, it is a big game because Wrexham have done very well this season. They're right near the top of the league. So as things stand, they're currently third in the table. Played 26, 51 points. Wickham are just above them. Played the same amount of game and 3 points better off on 54. And then we're 2 points better off than Wickham, 5 points better off than Wrexham, having played 2 less games than both those two teams. Obviously, below that, we can't discount as well. Huddersfield are doing very well. They're in fourth, 25 games played and 48 points. It's pretty tight at the top of that table. So this is a big one. I think that we come into this in really good form. So in the last 10 games, we've won 8 and drawn 2, and we've only conceded 2 goals in the last 10 league games. So that's the whole of our leagues. That's 2, because our defence is tight or tightened up. Wrexham, in the last 10 games, have won 6, drawn 2, and lost 2, including their last game, which surprisingly, and I say surprisingly because it happened to us as well. They lost at Shrewsbury, and I thought that they might. I thought it was a bit of a fluke. No, it wasn't a fluke. Birmingham City, by the way, let me clarify, deserved to lose against Shrewsbury. I don't mean a fluke in the way the teams played. It's just it was a surprise result, and that was a surprise result for me when Wrexham lost to. I watched the game.
It was a poor game of football. I think if Wrexham fans have been completely honest about it, they'll admit it. That was just a poor game of football.
They won't play like that against us.
They won't.
That's the problem. Every team ups their game against us. And you can't deny Wrexham have got a fantastic home record. So it's going to be nothing like that when we play them on Thursday.
Yeah. It's funny, Dad, because I mentioned in my intro that I don't like the spectacle. You said you just want to get on with the business and all these things. But actually, Wrexham at home is arguably one of my favourite games of the season so far. And I think that was because maybe, the cameras were there. We had Rob. I can never get his surname right, Dad. You help me out.
David Beckham.
Rob McElhenney or Rob
McElhenney.
McElhenney, that's it. So, it was a great game of football, and we won 3-1 on that fixture. I think we deserved to win. I think we really frustrated them. You could tell in the second half especially, they just went even more direct, and we just sat back, absorbed it all. Sorry, my chair went back. We sat back and absorbed it all, and then we did show quality in the final third that night. I mean, that goal from Owata was great against Wrexham. And, but the thing on my mind, and I'm sure it's on a lot of other fans' minds, is Wrexham's home form.
Yes.
It's absolutely outstanding.
Can't argue with it.
In fact, it's interesting because I've seen Wrexham a few times this season, Dad, and on the odd game, they look really good, really compact, getting lots of balls in the box. And then I've seen them in other games, and they look awful, a bit, just a little bit hit and miss for me whenever I've watched Wrexham. But it's the away form versus the home form. Away will be their undoing if they don't go up this season. But their home form is absolutely fantastic. Best in the league. In fact, it's better than Birmingham's. And they've played 14, won 12 and drew 2, 2.71 average points per game at home, and the second best defensive record behind Blues in the league this season. You can't deny those facts.
Yeah.
And the fact they're the home team, they're going to come at us this time a little bit more than what I believe they did at St.Andrews. And there's no point in denying it. It's going to be a tough game.
Oh, it will be a tough game, and I think obviously we'll talk about our team and what our potential injuries as well. But you can't deny their home record. They're very strong at home. It'll be a very boisterous atmosphere. Their crowd is great. Their fans are really.
I like the Wrexham fans, by the way.
Yeah, they're up for it, and they'll enjoy the game as well. But their home record is what it is. But as I say, when I watch the Shrewsbury game as well, and I've noticed this in other games as well, they do play a lot of long balls.
That's their style.
And their crosses. Is it Ryan Bennett on their right hand side?
He's a good player.
Out of all their players in their team, personally, he's their best. I think he's a good supply line for them. Yeah. We'll have to watch him, and obviously they have got threats up front. I mean, there's a lot of strikers they've got in that team.
They look, in my opinion, by the way, and Wrexham fans can completely correct me on this. I think they look better when they play Palmer up front because I think he gives them that a little bit more aggression. I think he's a bit more. I don't know whether you'd use the word clean up. I just think they look more dangerous when they have Palmer in the team. He wasn't playing against Shrewsbury. And I noticed a few fans were commenting saying, why didn't Palmer start?
Probably being rested.
Maybe being rested, 100%. But
see, that's the danger, this is the problem decisions that managers have to make. You might think, as far as I'm aware, he's not injured. And again, please correct me if I'm wrong. From what I read, he wasn't injured. But he's probably saving him for this game. But then you've just thrown 3 points away against Shrewsbury. So why not play him? Why not play him in that game and get 3 points? Because you could have won that game and potentially lost this one, and you'd still be no better off. Yeah. So I don't get that. We've done that as well in previous seasons, haven't we? Where we've rested decent players on the basis of future games. I think you basically play your best team every game. Yeah. But the game against Shrewsbury, I thought it was football wise, it wasn't real spectacle. It was very, very poor. And and Wrexham surprised me in that there wasn't really too many good passages of play. It was they lost the ball a lot. Yeah. Fair play to Shrewsbury, they closed them down well.
Just like they did against Blues.
Yeah, they did very, very well. But it was the threats. I think for us is we're going to have a lot of balls banged into our box because that's what they do, isn't it? And if he plays and starts, they've got the likes of Stephen Fletcher, who's very experienced. He gets in the right positions. He's very physical. They've also got Jack Marriott's just coming back as well. He was on the bench and came on actually against Shrewsbury. Yeah. They got Paul Mullin, who's not having the best of seasons for them, but he's a threat as well.
He got goal of the month last month. It was a great goal, but I've been so underwhelmed with Mullin this season.
I think from what I've read from Wrexham fans as well, obviously he's a hero there because he's been there a number of seasons. He's been their top scorer, but I think a lot of Wrexham fans say he's not having the best season this year.
Mullin was their first kind of star signing, weren't he? He was with them in the Conference North, and he's gone through the leagues with them. So he was their first, I think, star signing in the context of they managed to get a player to drop down a couple of divisions for Wrexham. Yeah. And I think that in and of itself has kind of made him a bit of a, I wouldn't say club legend. I don't know. I'm not a Wrexham fan, but I know he's highly respected.
I like Ollie Rathbone as well. They bought him in, didn't they, in the summer? He's a decent player.
He's like Alawata. Yeah, he's the disruptor.
Yeah, and I think obviously they've got good players. They've clearly got a good home record, and this is going to be one of our tougher games this season. But ourselves, we're on good form. But we have, as we're talking a minute about our injuries, because I suppose that's our only concern. Is when we played our last game when we just beat Exeter 1-0. Our first choice midfield was completely gone. All four of them, they weren't there because they were all injured. So it depends on who's fit and who's available to come back.
I've got an idea in the midfield. Come back to me.
We'll come back. Interesting because we'll come back to that. But they've got a lot of strength. Clearly, in the air is where they'll dominate. So we're going to have the likes of Clara and Davis, and all of our players are going to have to be mindful of when they get a corner or a set piece. Yeah. That's where they're going to be a major threat as well. And we've seen as well they like attacking down the wings, particularly on the right. They've got James McLean as well. I can't mention him. He's the only player I know. Everywhere he goes, he rolls everybody up, doesn't he? I think he loves it, really, to be honest. But he's the only player I know. He could start a fight in a room on his own. He's that type of player, isn't he? I actually don't mind his attitude. I don't like some of the venomous comments against him. I know he's not the most.
He's not a likeable character, is he?
I like his attitude, in terms of he's got a bit of physicality about his strength. But yeah, as a person, obviously he doesn't help himself, does he? Because he just winds everybody up.
He's an A-star nut job. He really is. It's like, I remember a pre-season friendly against Chelsea. 10 minutes in, they were fighting in the corner. You think, what is wrong with the guy?
As well, yeah.
And to be fair, as you say, that I don't mind aggressive players and people that get stuck in and back their teammates and get stuck in. He crosses the line sometimes. He's got away this season with a couple of punches and elbows and all sorts. Anyway, however, he's not a bad supply line as well. So you've got Bennett on the right and McLean on the left. They're kind of their supply line. He's
an experienced player, James McLean, and for whether you love him or you don't, whether you love him or hate him, he's still a threat. He's still a threat. He's physical, and he does get forward. So we'll have to just keep an eye on him as well. well. They're quite aggressive as a team, as we've seen. But we've just come off a boxing match against Exeter, haven't we? So we'll be used to that, won't we? When we play Wrexham. But it's the wings we're going to have to watch. But that's like a lot of teams, I think, in this league. You know, they try and ping a lot of balls into the box. So their style of play, you know, they do play a lot of long balls. Cross as often as they possibly can, attack on the wings, and they can attack through the middle. But I didn't see much evidence of that actually against Shrewsbury. Most of the chances came from the wings, didn't they?
The classic through the middle goal I saw, Dad, was it was at Wrexham, because I was doing my research for Barnsley the week after we were playing them, and they lost. Barnsley lost that. Wrexham won that in the 90th minute or 90 plus one or something like that. And it was right down the middle. Again, it was poor defensively from Barnsley, but they kind of took it. They did like a little triangle. They brought it forward, and I can't remember who scored it, but he pinged it in from about 20 yards. I mean, poor defensively from Barnsley, but they can go down the middle if you give them the chance to and the space to. But I think we're particularly strong down the middle.
Yeah,
so I think if a team's going to want to exploit Birmingham City and they've done their research, it will be wider and with balls in the box, because that's where we've been slightly more vulnerable. But we'll be set up well against these.
Well, not recently. Like I say, we've conceded since he made the changes when we lost to Shrewsbury, and that's when we haven't lost since then. We've won 8 and drawn 2 after that. He made the changes straight after Shrewsbury, where he brought Ben Davies into the centre half and he put Bielek on the right, although Laird's been starting there for a few games now. And that's after that we've conceded 2 goals in 10 games.
Crazy.
So I think we are vulnerable to conceding goals in any game, but I think I'm much more comfortable now that we've
100%
set up a lot better now.
100%, Dad. But I think if you're an opposition player and you're looking at Birmingham City, in my opinion, and you're looking at ways to break us down or go through us, it's balls in the box for me, and where you're going to get your most success. You're not going to break us down through the middle because we're too solid. The only chance is to go down the wide and get it in, and they will do that though. That is what Wrexham do. I've got 2 notes here, which are the big ones in black and red. They're very direct and they're very physical.
Yes, I've just said that.
Exactly, and they play out of possession as well. They're 16th in the possession table at the minute. They averagely get 47% possession, so not bad, but they are happy for you to have more of the ball. And I think we will have a lot of the ball, but because they're the home team, they'll come at us more than they did at St. Andrews. But again, we'll go on to the Blues team now, Dad. I still think we have enough quality. I mean, pending injuries here, I guess, we'll have a look, talk about the Blues team. I still think we can win this game.
Yeah, I do as well. Just a few of their arrivals that they brought in. So they have brought in some decent players. They brought in Arthur Okonkwo, which is the goalkeeper. He was on loan last season. They brought him on permanently as a free transfer. Quite impressed with him as a goalkeeper. He's quite a tall lad, isn't he? Ollie Rathbone, they brought him from Norwich. Paid about $500,000 for him, central midfield. Mo Farl as well. I believe he's sort of a fringe player. He came in off the bench, actually, didn't he? Centre forward from West Brom. He hasn't really done very much at the moment because I don't think he's been getting much opportunities. George Dobson as well. A lot of clubs were interested in him. He's a central defensive midfielder from Charlton, and Dan Scarr. And I think Dan Scarr will start against us because they need something like solid. I think was it at the back? Was it McCormick or one of their players? I think he got a lot of, or O'Connell. I can't remember. But there was the Wrexham fans were particularly talking about one of their players, one of their centre halves that didn't have a particularly good game. It might have been O'Connell. Anyway,
against Blues or Shrewsbury?
No, against Shrewsbury. Right. And I think they were talking about the possibility of having him. Their lead lead striker is Elliot Lee with 6 goals at the moment. Stephen Fletcher's now got 6 goals. He's quite old for a footballer. Steve, but he's very, very experienced, very wise. He knows him to get in positions, centre forward. Then we've got Max Cleworth with 5 goals. Jack Marriott's got 5, and he's just coming back. Whether Jack Marriott starts, I don't know, because he's literally just back off injury. Then James McLean's got 3. But the big threat for me is Ryan Bennett. Mm-hmm. He's not got many goals, but he's a little bit like that guy from Leaf, what's his name, from Ipswich last season. He got 1 goal, but he got about 20 assists.
Oh, I know exactly who you mean. Yeah. His name's eluding me.
I know his first name's Leaf. I can't remember. People put it in the comments below. But this Ryan Bennett has got 8 assists already this season. James McLean's got 3. George Dobson's got 3. So they are a threat. They've got goals in them. They're going to be physical. It is going to be a tough game. But I think
they love a late goal as well.
They do love a late goal. So we'll have to be switched on for this game. But so that's Wrexham. So do you want to go on to the Blues team?
Let's do it. Should we do what we always do, Dad, and make our way through the team?
Yeah, let's do that because obviously this is one where we are in the sort of realms of quite a few injuries at the moment.
Yeah.
So let's do our best guess.
Okay then. So shall I start it off? I
Yeah.
can't remember who did the last one in the video, but we'll just go
Doesn't
for it
matter,
anyway.
doesn't
So
matter.
I'll go the back line then, Dad. I've gone for Allsop in goal.
Yeah,
Although
also,
injury,
yeah, maybe. I mean, interestingly, he went down a couple of times against Exeter. He did last the whole
He
match.
did.
I hope he's not injured.
Really hope he's not injured
But
as well.
I'm hoping that we'll see him starting goal. So I've gone for Allsop as well.
same. So I'll go across the whole line, Dad. So I've gone Cochrane left back.
Yeah.
Sorry, excuse me. Davies left side of centre back. Clara right side of centre back. I've gone for Laird right back.
Yeah, so have I now. I was initially thinking Bielek because he played Bielek. Obviously when we've started on this good run,
Could we see Bielek in the midfield?
possibly
Could
because
we?
he tried him, didn't he? He brought Bielek on as a substitute late in the game against Exeter. But Laird, you can't really drop him. He had an outstanding game against Wigan. And then he scored his first goal for us against Exeter. I don't think he'll be dropped, so I think it'll be Ethan Laird. So I agree with the back line.
I also in our last podcast, Dad, post Exeter, I mentioned about having a bit more going forward, and Laird's delivery isn't great sometimes, but he does give us a bit more of an outlet up front,
Yeah.
doesn't he? Because Davies tells him to stay high
Yeah.
up on the pitch. That's why he got the goal. He was in
Yeah.
the box, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So I think when Laird's at right back over Bielek, it does give us more going forward. So I agree. Laird at right back.
So we agree on the back line then.
Yep.
So going into midfield then, this is where it gets really interesting now because we have got this literally depleted for injuries. So just if you don't remember, this is on Blues or Wrexham fans, our last game against Exeter, we had no Pake, no Awata, no Williamson, and no Keshi Anderson, which would effectively be in our central midfield, right-hand side, and number 10. They're all injured. And we don't know whether they're going to be back. I mean, chances are that...
Williamson won't be. Keshi Anderson won't be.
no.
And Pake is looking doubtful now.
Yeah, and we don't know much about Awata as well. So it could be that we've got a completely changed midfield.
I think, Dad, we go through this squad assuming that those players are injured.
Yeah, okay.
Because we all know if Pake and Awata are fit, they're in the centre mid. It's a
Yeah.
fact.
So
we know that's going to happen. So let's assume.
If that's the case, I think we're going to see a very similar team to what we did against Exeter. So I think we'll see Taylor Gardner-Hickman and who was within him? Taylor Gardner-Hickman and Leonard in midfield, which they did very well against Exeter, so you can't criticise them. I think Stansfield will be on the left, Jay Stansfield. On the right, I'm going to go again for Scott Wright. Chris Davies seems to like Luke Harris in that number 10. And I'm going to plump for that again. I think he'll start with Luke Harris and we'll have Alfie May at number 9. I believe that will be the team.
Looks like we completely agree across all 11 positions, Dad. However, I've picked that off the back of what I think Chris Davies is going to pick. What I want to see, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, I want to see Bielek and Leonard in the midfield. And, I want to see Bielek and Taylor Gardner-Hickman in the middle. Just get that physicality in there. Put Leonard in the 10.
Yeah.
And then have those wingers that you said.
I'd like to see that.
That's what I'd like. Because Bielek and Taylor Gardner-Hickman, physical, they're going to get stuck in. They're going to break up that physical element of the Wrexham game.
This is going to be a physical
100%.
game. Because Wrexham are a physical team.
And I'm not feeling, I know you're not as well, Dad, Harris in the 10.
No.
I'm just not feeling it. I don't get the loyalty. He's a loan player. We have to play our players that we have on full contract, in my opinion. Why would you be loyal to someone who's on loan? I don't know if there's something in his contract that says he has to play X amount of games. But
I can't see somebody putting that in a contract because if you did that, it restricts the manager's ability to pick his team. So,
but I'm just logically thinking, what does he see that some of us don't?
There's no doubt that Luke Harris has pace and he's a decent player, but he's not effective. That's the problem. I think that's where you're coming from.
He's not done it this season. So I'd like to see Leonard in the
I'd like to see that, and you could put Bielek in that midfield because he used to play there under Eustace, didn't he?
He did.
So we have got options, and we've got some, obviously we've got the likes of Yuki, potentially on the bench with Lyndon Dykes on the bench. Yokoyama will be on the bench. We'll have Bailey Peacock-Farrell will be on the bench. Who else will be on the bench? Possibly Samstead, actually. He's quite versatile, isn't he?
Absolutely. But just going back to the 10 conversation, Dad, we both mentioned we're not feeling Harris. Let's say he doesn't play Leonard in the 10, and I don't think he will. Let's say he plays Taylor Gardner-Hickman and Leonard, or Bielek and Leonard, so it leaves the 10 open again. Would you prefer Dykes in there over Harris?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. I'd even be tempted that, depending on how the game goes, shifting Stansfield into 10 and putting Yokoyama on the left.
Yeah. That sounds like a good idea.
But I wouldn't start with that because Yokoyama, in my opinion, is not a starter. I know,
especially against Wrexham.
Yeah. So, but I think that might be an option to obviously put Jay Stansfield just behind Alfie May, shift Yokoyama into the But what he's done that in reverse. Because when we played Wrexham last time, we had Stansfield in the 9 and Alfie in the 10.
And it worked.
Yeah.
That was the one game it did work.
But the thing is, we've got options and we've got a decent squad. And even with all these fantastic players injured, we've got good options. And we saw against Exeter that, we've got players that can come in that are very, very good. I would be more comfortable with our first choice midfield, but that ain't going to happen in this game. And obviously, we've got the game against Huddersfield a few days after as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's got to be managed as well, hasn't it? So, to me, I think that the team is going to be very, very similar to the Exeter team, depending upon what players might be able to come back into the team. I'd love to see Water back into the team, but I think we have to assume that because Chris Davies, when in his post-match interview against Exeter, was asked about Paik. But not about Water, and I thought, well, he didn't mention a Water. Does that mean he's ready? You don't have to worry about him.
Hopefully.
Or is he miles away?
So, again, because we've got a bit of time, Dad, in the interest of just playing a game, if Water's back, what happens to the midfield then? In your opinion, is it Water and Leonard?
Yes. Yeah, because Leonard is more of a forward-thinking player. Watter's more of a defensive, although he can go forward. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But I do
What
like
do you do with Taylor Gardner-Hickman?
I do like Taylor Gardner-Hickman.
And again, in terms of loyalty off of the back of his performance against Exeter, Taylor Gardner-Hickman, in my opinion, was man of the match.
Yeah, well, again, you've got options. If Watter's back, you could play Leonard. You could play Taylor Gardner-Hickman on the right and put Stansfield in the 10. Possibly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. This is why, as a manager, Chris Davies, is this conundrum about who fits where. Basically, I think the first question is, well, who have we got available? He'll talk to his medical staff and who's fit, who can play. Then he'll pick his team around him. But we're making assumptions based upon, if a Waters back or not. And you said at the beginning, let's assume that they're not.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I hope he is.
The reason why I played the game with the Water is because he's the one we've heard nothing on. So does that mean he might be closer? Because I think, if I'm going to be honest, I think Paik is out for Wrexham. Just from what I'm hearing, it's just pure speculation, I guess, at this point. And Williamson's definitely out for a couple of weeks, isn't he? He's been confirmed. And Keshi Anderson's still not back, I don't think. So
he's gone quiet, hasn't he?
Yeah,
The Anderson situation.
He has these spells, don't he, where he gets these really bad injuries, where he's out for a couple of months or a couple
But
of weeks.
this is the whole point in having a squad, though, isn't it? Yeah, I think the Wrexham team is, they've got a similar option. I think the issue with Wrexham got, though, in terms, I know we're talking about Blues, but their squad is they've got a load of strikers.
I know.
But they can only play a couple of them, can't I think at Shrewsbury, he brought on the 4 on the pitch at the end of the game, wasn't there? But when you look at our squad, we've got options in every single position. And that's why when we get these injuries, at the back as well, don't forget, we got Grant Hanley as well. Now. He'll be on the bench. There's no reason why he won't start this game. No, he won't start. No. But he'll be on the bench. And he's a good physical player. I'd like to see Hanley up against like Stephen Fletcher or one of them.
Palmer, something like that. Physical players, physical guys.
Because Grant Hanley ain't going to get pushed around.
No.
So
exactly. In fact, again, I'm not pushing for Grant Hanley here, Dad, because Clara and Ben Davies are outstanding. But if there is any game for him to make an impact, it's Wrexham, isn't it? Because he's a physical bloke.
Stick Hanley at number 10.
Imagine that. He's the turning circle of a bus.
Because he's not a ball. That's a joke, by the way. I think we sort of agree that based upon injuries, it's quite likely that the team is going to be very similar to. My concern is Allsop, because he went down twice, didn't he, against Exeter, and I think it was a foot problem.
He looked uncomfortable.
But he did manage. But maybe with a goalkeeper as well, if it's not too serious, they can bandage him up, can't they? And get him ready. But I think he's key for us. I think without Allsop in the team, starting lineup, I think we're more vulnerable.
What a turnaround that is for him and the season for Blues. Because, at the season start, we had Bailey Peacock Farrell, and then people were a little bit unsure, and now he's just cemented himself as our number one. I agree, Dad, he's invaluable.
We saw what a good player he was against when he played for Hull last season. He played in a team that nearly made the playoffs in the Championship. Yeah, and he weren't first choice, was he, when he first came in, because it was Bailey Peacock Farrell for the first 10 games, whatever.
Give or take.
But he's made himself now proper. He cemented his place.
Probably one of our most important players.
Yeah.
Because of the way Chris Davies plays now, he's integral. And again, his distribution against Exeter was fantastic. We didn't actually put that in the video, Dad, against Exeter, but his passing, his distribution is fantastic. He's clearly a good shot stopper now. We saw that one, Louis Barry against Stockport at home. He looked really good saves. He saved a couple of penalties this season. I love Allsop, and as I said, really hope he's not injured. Yeah, me too. But it should be a good game. It's going to be a good atmosphere. I'll say, and I will be glad when this game's out the way. Not from anything about Wrexham or anything about Blues. It's just the whole. I just want it to be about football. I want it to be about football, and then we can get on with our seasons. We've played each other twice, and then move on. Come on then, Dad. Let's bring us on to our score predictions, and then we'll close the video. Yeah. So my heart would say
Wrexham 1, Birmingham 2, because I think Wrexham have got a fantastic home record, is going to score. But I'm going to go with my head here because they've got such a strong home record. I'm going to go for Wrexham 2, Birmingham 2. I'm going for a Desmond.
2-2 draw?
2-2, yeah.
Well, my mind is going to be your heart. So I've gone for Wrexham 1, Birmingham City 2. I still think we have enough to win this. However, I do think they'll score because of their just relentlessness of getting balls in the box.
Yeah.
And that it doesn't worry me. I'm not worried about this game. I'm not worried about those elements. But that's an area for me where they could exploit for them to get a goal. And a corner. All it takes is a corner, isn't it? And these things. So I think Wrexham will score, but I think we've got more than enough quality here, Dad. Wrexham 1, Birmingham City 2.
Yeah, I'm just as you're talking, I'm just looking through their fixtures, and they've scored in every single home game so far. They've not got. I don't think they haven't got a 0-0. But they've got 0-0 away, which is to Leighton Orient. But all their scores, I'm looking at every home fixture. They scored at least a goal, 3s and 4s actually. Here. Oh no, there was a 0-0 against Huddersfield.
Okay.
Earlier in the season, yeah. So on 22nd of October, they drew 0-0 with Huddersfield.
And I did think about a 0-0. I did genuinely think about a 0-0 for this because it has kind of got that element of it's a spectacle, it's big, and those games can sometimes not live up to the hype, can't they? However, I'm going to go with my gut. Wrexham 1, Birmingham City 2. Any final thoughts, Dad, before we close out?
Well, no, but I think you've got like the best. Wrexham have scored 38 goals in 26 games, so they're about 9th in the table. We're second with 42 goals, but we've got the best defence. Only conceded 17. Then they're next with 20, but they've played 2 games more, so it's going to be very tight. I think this is that's why I've gone for a draw. I say, but I'd love us to win this, but I don't think for us a draw would be disastrous.
No, it wouldn't.
I don't, because we've already beaten them at home.
Yeah.
So for us, I think a draw would be better. I mean, a draw would be perfect for the other teams, Wickham and Huddersfield. But I think just getting a point out of this game, I'd love to get 3 points. I think we can. We've got the team that can do it, but this is a tough game against a very, very good home side. So that's why I've plumbed for a draw. But I'm excited about it, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But on the same side, once again, sound like a stuck record. I'll be glad when this one's over.
I think a lot of fans would agree.
Yeah.
With that. But as always, Birmingham City supporters, we would love to hear from you. Please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And Wrexham supporters, I know you were quite popular on the first video we did at the start of the season. And let us know your thoughts as well. What are your expectations for the upcoming game? If you like this video specifically, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up and check us out on our social media channels. We have an X page, we have an Instagram page, and we're also on Spotify now, so you can check us out over there. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss any future content, and hit that bell notification so you get notified every time we post as well. And myself and Dad will see you on the next video all about Birmingham City.